of Ecclesiastes chapter 8. Ecclesiastes chapter 8. We have been walking through this exciting book. I would claim it to be exciting and at the same time informational, helpful, and beneficial. And we are making grounds. We are in chapter 8. So this morning we're going to review one verse. We ended at verse 8 last time, and we're going to read verse 8 just for review, and we're going to pick it up at verse 9. Verse 8, let's all read verse 8 together, loud and strong. No one has power over the Spirit to retain the Spirit, and no one has power in the day of death. There is no release from that war, and wickedness will not deliver those who are given to it. Last time we spoke about in this verse concerning that ultimate last war, death, that no one, unless the rapture takes place, but if the rapture does not take place, two things we have against us. How many things? If you can guess, I'll give you $100, and it's really crispy and nice. I ironed it last night. Two things. One, we have two things against us: time and age. Two things against us. And as time and age do what they're supposed to do, ultimately, death, we will succumb to death. Would you agree or not? So two things against us. I want to shed some light on a little thing that just transpired this past week, which was the passing of Queen Elizabeth II of England. Anybody know that? It's all over the news. She lived to see 96. That's a very long time. She's been reigning since she was 25. So basically, she reigned about 75 years. That's a long time. Most presidents 4 or 8, if they do well. There is something in Great Britain that the people say, the citizens say, politicians say, concerning the Queen. At the end of whatever statement they are saying, they would say this: long live the Queen. And in fact, she did live long. Why? You have millions of people speaking it over your life. Anybody hearing me this morning? Death wasn't paused for that lady. She would have gone long time. But the fact that so many people kept saying, long live the Queen, that contributed to her living to see 96. Is anybody listening to Odie Joseph this morning? I said to you, sometimes you don't stop saying things like, I am poor, I am broke, I am this, all negative things concerning yourself. Speak positively over your life. Speak positively over your home. Speak positively over your finances, your business, or your children. Speak it over that. And you will prolong the blessings. So when Great Britain has so many people saying constantly, repeatedly, over and over and over, long live the Queen, at every statement, they didn't say, I wish she died. What is she doing for Great Britain? At the end of every statement is, long live the Queen. Because life and death are in the power of the tongue. Life and death. And what were they speaking over her when they said, long live the queen? They were speaking death or life. And that's what happened. But because we are living in a fallen world, time and age ultimately will cause us to succumb to that last war, death. Are you hearing me? If there was no sin in this world, man would live to see a very long time. Remember back in Bible times, the oldest men lived to see how many years? 969 years, Methuselah. 969. Because back in that day they were living under a different dispensation of time. The only thing that is keeping us to make it to 70, 75, 80, 85, 90, and 96, some 100, only thing that is keeping us under this dispensation is the dispensation of grace. Had it not been for God's grace, we wouldn't make it even to 70. Had it not been for God's grace. Why? Because of how the world has now broken down to such a degree, more and more of a fallen situation, that only the grace of God is keeping us. So death in verse 8, it's saying, Solomon is reminding us or letting us know that no one can fight death. Nobody, not even the most powerful woman in Great Britain, Queen Elizabeth. She had to succumb. Doesn't matter how powerful she was, death ultimately caused her to succumb to it. Is anybody listening? We've had powerful preachers. We've had powerful, impressive presidents. And they all, in the past, succumbed to death. We've had powerful, impressive millionaires in the entertainment industry, and they all left it all behind. Anybody listening? So I want us to understand that we have to live every day as if it's our last and make the best of it and make sure we're living to please God. At the end of the story, at the end of it all, hear the conclusion of man. The whole purpose of us is to serve God, live for him. Solomon made it clear in chapter 12. That's the whole duty of man, is to fear God. Fear God how? What does it mean to fear God? Is it when somebody said boo, you jump and your heart is racing? Fear God means to respect him, reverence him, give him that respect, live for him. Same respect people give to their moms and their dads or their parents. He's saying give that same respect and even more to God. Fear, he says, hear the conclusion of the whole matter. What is the conclusion for us as human beings? He says, fear God, respect God, reverence God. And he says, live for him. It makes no sense for us to just live a happy-go-lucky life. And at the end of the day, when it's our turn to be in a casket, we don't have God. Because at the end of the day, that's who we have to face when it's all said and done. And it says no one has power over the spirit. No one means not Queen Elizabeth, who lived to see 96. And I mean, it looked like she was never going to go. Every time I see the lady, she has the walking stick. She has the body holding her and walk. The lady, she's going. It might be slow, but she's moving by herself. At 96. You have some people, I saw a man the other day, he on his license plate said veteran. So I was impressed because I'm a veteran. And the guy is moving like this. I said, sir, what part of the service did you serve? And he told me his war story. I said, how old are you? I thought the guy was going to tell me in his 90s. The guy is just barely 79 and he's moving like this. And I said to myself when I walked away from him, my dad is 87 and still moving like a young spring chicken. My dad is still running his business at 87. My dad is still fixing things around the house at 87. My dad is not getting up from his seat and just holding on to stuff to get up and barely taking 3 minutes to get up. My dad is up. But the queen, at 96, she's still going. And everybody said, when is she going to die? She kept going. Why? Long live the queen have been spoken over her life by millions for 75 years. And life and death are in the power of the tongue. But ultimately, death is so powerful. Death is such a greedy monster. Doesn't care who you are, how much money you have, who you know, who you rub shoulders with, where you live, your accomplishments. Death is going to come in. I told you about the story of that billionaire in Texas who said, I am going to build me a city in Texas. And in this city, I'm going to have, you don't have to worry about lighting. I'm going to have 24-hour lighting. He says, in this city, you don't have to worry about this. You don't have to worry about that. You don't have to worry about security. I'm going to have 24-hour security. And he's going on to say all that he's going to have in this city. Best security, 24-hour lighting, this, that. He says, you're going to have it all in this city. And one man in the back, an old man, raised his hand and said, sir, can I say something concerning your city? And the billionaire said, yes, sir. And the old man says, I know you're going to have all this in your city and the best protection and 24-hour lighting, but I'm going to tell you two things are going to crawl into your city without permission. Sickness and death. Doesn't matter how high the wall of that city is. He said two things are going to crawl into that city. Sickness and death. And Solomon is letting us know in verse 8, no one has power over the spirit to retain the spirit. When death comes, you can't tell death, not today, I'm not ready. You can say it, but he's going to tell you, I'm going to win. I told you about that story of the man down in the market, and he saw this man in a long black coat approaching him, and the man said, who are you looking for? He said, I'm looking for you. The man said, who are you? He said, I'm death. I'm here for you. The man ran away from death, ran home, told his family members, I saw a man in the market, long black coat, his name is Death. Said he's coming for me. I'm going to go to another city. Left the country, went to another city. His cousin went down to the market and saw Death and said, my cousin said you threatened him. And said, you're here for him. And Death responded to his cousin and said, yes, I have an appointment with him in that city he's going to today. I know which city he's going to. I'm going to meet him there. We can say no to death, but we have no power over death. And that's what Solomon is telling us here. No one, doesn't matter who you are, where you are, your status, your money, your fame, nothing. He says no one has power over the spirit to retain the spirit, and no one has the power in the day, in the moment, in the time of death. No one has the power to tell death, not today. There is no release. He says there is no release from that war, and wickedness will not deliver those who are given to it. What does it mean wickedness will not deliver those who are given to it? There are a lot of people are going to go around town and tell you all kind of stuff, like the false preachers and false people going to tell you all kind of nice things to make you feel happy and make you feel comfortable and make you feel like you're going to live forever. He's saying, don't listen to these people. That is not going to help you. He said, and there is no release from that war, and wickedness will not deliver those who are given to it, meaning those who believe in false teachers telling you all kinds of different things. He said, that will not even help you. Look at verse 9. All this I have seen and applied to my heart to every work that is done under the sun. Chapter 8, Ecclesiastes 8, verse 9. There is a time in which one man rules over another to his own hurt. Church, I want you to hear this. Remember, this church is a teaching church, and teaching is designed to empower us, educate us, to help us. So when you leave here, you can't just go and tell your friends, oh, sure, we had church today. Boy, he preached. Oh, man, he was sweating. What did he preach? Man, he stood on the chair, but he was sweating. What did he preach? Oh, man, he was screaming. What did he preach? Oh, he did tell me what the guy spoke about. You can't tell because it was just all emotion. Oh, man, he laid back and he, what was he saying? So here is different. Here, I want to teach you, to empower you, and educate you. Verse 9 is going to rock your world. It says here, all this I have seen and applied to my heart to every work that is done under the sun. Remember that phrase, under the sun, mean we're still living on planet Earth. As under the sun mean on this side of heaven. Under the sun, wherever you see that phrase, under the sun, is talking about on this side of heaven. We are not dead and in heaven yet. There is a time in which one man rules over another to his own hurt. Now, this is what I want you to understand. See that phrase, there is a time in which one man rules over another to his own hurt? Before I explain that phrase of this verse, let me say this. You see this book here? This is the Constitution God left with us. This is God's letter to us. This is God's message from his heart to humanity. And I'm telling you now, hear this. Everything in life can be found in this book. Everything in life can be found in this book. Everything. I've read it through a few times. That's why as soon as I got out of the army, at 23, I went straight to Bible college to study this book. At 23. And I'm still studying. They can tell you. She came in my room the other day, and she opened some closets. And what did you see? Oh, she said, Auntie, all I can see is books galore, books everywhere. Everywhere you come into my room, you're going to stumble over books. I'm like a doctor constantly reading to understand this more and more. Anybody hearing me? Everything in life can be found in this book. I'm going to show it to you now. See this phrase that says in verse 9, there is a time in which one man rules over another to his own hurt. You know what that is talking about? That's talking about politicians, dictators, people who are in power over a country, over a nation, over people, and who suppress people. Look at what's going on. Let's go back to the days of Fidel Castro in Cuba. People, everything was controlled by Fidel Castro. You can't just walk into a bank in Cuba, back in Cuba days when Fidel Castro was around and the dictator of Cuba, and just go into a bank and open an account and just go over the street, down the street and say, I want to buy an acre of land. No, you didn't have that power. Socialism means the government controls and dictates everything you do, everything you eat, everything you do. Socialism means the dictator of that nation. Listen to me. Listen, I was 25 years old, 25 years old, I believe, approaching 26. I just finished college, my 2-year college. I started traveling the Caribbean islands, traveling to different states. I ended up down in Trinidad, where I met my ex-wife. I was there preaching, and a pastor said to me, I want you to go to a family house because you're about to pastor. I want you to see some of these things that you're going to encounter. I was young. Walked into the man's house. I mean, the house looked good from the outside. When I walked in, there was no flooring. It was dirt. The mattress was on the floor, the dirt. The struggle, the poverty. I walked out of that house with tears streaming down my cheeks. And hear what I said. There is no place like America. I know you have your issues with America, yes. Absolutely. We have issues with America. I have a big issue with America. Tell me I can't discipline my children. If not, they will send a popo for me. That's a big problem. But I know how to fix a problem. Just take them to the Caribbean islands for vacation and whoop them behind inside out. Let's go for vacation. Let's go to the Caribbean. Let's go to a nation where that rule doesn't stand to work. And talk back to me in the Caribbean islands. Even though we have issues with America, it is the greatest nation on this planet. It is. No nation can top it. Look at Russia. The president of Russia, just big and bad, got up, went into another man's sovereign country, Ukraine, and devastated that country. Look what Solomon said. Listen, this happened. Solomon predicted all this. Solomon said, look what Solomon said in verse 9, that last phrase. There is a time in which one man rules over another to his own hurt. One man, Russian president, caused millions of Ukrainians to be all over the world running, on the run. The whole life disrupted. Their whole life. Listen to me, we Americans can't even deal with 3 weeks tornado devastation. We can't even deal with a hurricane that just blew our house down, and we're in a temporary shelter for 2 weeks. We are losing our mind. Ukrainians have been going through this since February, and it's still going. One man. Solomon says, listen to what he says. There is a time in which one man rules over another to his own hurt. Even in politics in America, Caribbean islands, different places around the world, there's something in politics called victimization. If you don't support me as a politician, and I know who you are and where you are and who you're connected to, oh man, you better plan to be victimized. Victimize means they're going to do whatever they can to hurt you and put the squeeze on you. They're going to do what they're going to talk to who they can talk to get you fired. Victimization means you are picked out and they're going to pick on you. Solomon says, let me just tell you, it happens. And that's why I'm going through Ecclesiastes, especially because every area of life can be found in Ecclesiastes, and not only Ecclesiastes, but the entire Bible. victimization, oppression, suppression, racism. Anybody hearing me? I was saying earlier, even though we have our issues with America, it is still the greatest nation in the world. And a lot of us black folks, not me, but a lot of us black folks like to say, I'm going back to Africa, Mother Africa. Well, you never even been to Africa. No. Had a teacher in high school in the Virgin Islands. The guy more light-skinned than my nephews. And every time he gets up to say a few words, I just want to remind you, I just hear Mother Africa crying out and calling me back home. The brother never been on a plane to Africa. And we Americans like to say too, I'm going back home. You were born in Chicago. You were born in New York. You were born in Texas and you're going back home where? I'm going back to the motherland, Africa. Oh, where were you born? Chicago. How you end up, how that becomes your home? Well, that's where they stole us from. They stole your forefathers, not you. You were born here. Move on. Amen. I would love to go to Africa. I have some places on my hit list. Senegal, Nairobi, Kenya, Ghana, Africa, Johannesburg, Africa, and Lagos, Nigeria. Those are on my hit list to visit. But they ain't my home. I love America, brother. I love to go and visit and enjoy it, come back and tell you the story. But listen to me. I love me some America in its crazy self. As crazy as America is and as ridiculous as America is, I love me America. You know what it is for you to have an American passport and get on a plane and you can go to any man's country without a question? But they to come to your country, America, they have to go through hell? Where are you from, brother? When you came to America, did you just get on a plane and just grab your African passport? You went to hell to get here, right? I'm from an island called Nevis. I had to go through a process called green card application. For me to get here. But you as an American, can just get your green passport, get on the plane, and come to my country and eat my mangoes. Are you hearing me, somebody? Huh? But I have to go through all kinds of things to come here. And I better be good looking enough to get approved. Number 9 says you're going to be victimization, oppression, suppression. Look at verse 10. Then I saw the wicked buried, who had come and gone from the place of holiness, and they were forgotten in the city where they had so done. This also is vanity. See that phrase, this also is vanity? Solomon is saying, man, that bothered me. You know what he's saying in verse 10? I've seen the rich, the famous, the important, the educated, the president, the Mr. Big Bucks. The guy who was so respected in his city, in his community, in his field of work, so respected. He said, I've seen him